Okay, we are live. Welcome to the Home Invest podcast. Got a special guest today, Nathan Payne, who's out there making it happen. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Nathan before. He's one of the young and up and coming guys in the industry, and he's out there giving great value. And he's done a lot of investing and everything, but he's also very good in the sales area, and he's creating a lot of trainings and free content. So I wanted to get him in just to talk about his journey. He's got a great backstory, and basically about the importance of constantly working on yourself and training. He does a lot of free trainings, and I just wanted to get him in to basically share his enthusiasm and his knowledge so far. So he's hung out with he's had some really good mentors. He's in Arizona at the moment. He's just on a fresh road trip, and he's been on a pretty big podcast with Brent Daniels. So he's up and about. So welcome to the show, Nathan. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. A great intro. Thank you.
Well, Nate, I mean, I know you personally now. I've stalked you on a couple of your trainings, and we've had a bit of fun. We share the common interests of UFC, so we've had a bit of a laugh about that. But when it comes to business, you know, you're a professional, and I've been very impressed with not just all the things I talked about, but your branding and the amount of time you put in. Do you sleep at all, Nathan? Because I just can't believe how much content you put out.
Well, the thing that I have that's really helped me to get that content out is I have virtual assistants that pretty much do all that work. So, everything that you see out there, I gave that to them. I've kind of trained them and said, hey, I need you to put all my stuff out on all platforms. And the thing is, like, I record myself doing like everything, right? Like whether I'm talking to sellers, whether I'm talking to buyers, doing my job. So the content, we have tons of it. They just need to chop it up and put it out,
Yeah, it's amazing. That training that I did, that was a sort of overall wholesaling one, but you've done some ones recently on sales training, and that's one thing I noticed with you. You're really good on the phone. Even in the wholesaling one, you jumped on the phone and spoke to a few people. One of them was such a dead lead that even paramedics couldn't have resuscitated, and you still did well to get a conversation. You still so what's your sales background? Give us a bit of an overview on your sales background.
I've always, even before I got into sales, like I just like talking to people. I like kind of finding what makes them tick, what they're about. I'm genuinely interested in people, right? That you read the book, what is it, How to Make Friends and Influence People, or something like that. So I read that, and I'm just kind of already ingrained to just want to know what people are about, right? So that kind of helps if you're interested in people. If you're interested in people, it helps you with sales. So that I already had that kind of down, or something I enjoy doing. And then I went on a mission for my church for 2 years where, 19 to 21 years old, you pretty much no TV, no girlfriends, no nothing but, Jesus. So I went out there and, I got out in my comfort zone and just talked to people all day, every day from, you'd wake up at 6:30 every day, go to bed at 10:30. And that was what your calling was, or your job is just to talk to people. So that really helped me, talk my communication skills with people. And then after my mission, when I was 21, I went to college and I got into door-to-door sales for 6 years. I ran sales teams, I did sales, and I would just go knock on people's random people's doors and try to sell them something. And I was one of the top guys in my company. So I was just always good and just like chatting with people. And that's kind of taken that to wholesaling and real estate investing. You just got to get on the phone and find out what people want and see if you can help them out.
Yeah. I mean, you're just so good at it. What would your advice be to people? Like, obviously, you've done the hard yards. You've got out there. I mean, to door knock and knock at people's door and talk about Jesus, you get a fair bit of rejection with that. And then wholesaling, you get even more rejection with that.
Sure.
So you must have thick skin. Just one question before we get into that is, when you first started, was it the old sales, like trying to sell someone something? Because I noticed when you did your call to the seller in the wholesaling course that you did, you asked a lot of questions and you probed and you asked and you were sort of, you didn't attack them with like trying to sell them anything.
Right.
Has that evolved? Did you start off?
100%.
So you tried to sell people. So that's changed now.
Yeah, I mean, I that has changed because when I was taught sales, when I was doing door to door, or even when I was doing the church stuff, like I would try and convince people why they needed my service, right? Convince you need this in your life, right? And whether that was with religion, convince you, hey, you need this because it's going to help you, or whether it was door to door, hey, you need this because it's going to save you money. And that's the wrong way to do sales. You're not going to convince anyone to do anything ever. People don't want to be sold. They just don't. So you have to find those pain points and find out if they even need your service. Like, I mean, let's talk about religion real quick. Like if I go to someone who is in love with whatever religion they are, it doesn't matter what it is. Let's just say, it's Christianity, it's Islam, it's whatever. And you go to them and you start telling them why yours is better. That's not going to work. They love what they do. They don't have any problems. They don't see any issues with what they do. So, I think the approach to influence anyone is to find out if there's any pain, any issue, or if there's any need or any desire for growth, and then show them how what you have can benefit them. And if they see that benefit, then they make the decision themselves. So that's how it is with wholesaling. I just had a call yesterday. This lady, she wants to sell her house. She's working on it. She's flipping it herself. She's doing the work, and she's telling me all the work she's doing, and she's going on about how great she's done. So I say, hey, sounds like you're doing a great job right now. Why are you even wanting to sell this? It sounds like you can just take this rehab the whole way. And then she's like, well, look, I'd rather not, it's taking a lot of time. So instead of me listening to her and saying, hey, sell the house to me, it would be way easier for you because you don't have to do all this work. I asked her, why are we talking? It sounds like this is good for you. And it's just better conversation because you find out, you're not trying to sell them on why you're the best option.
Yeah, and I guess it's a psychological thing too, because you're taking them through, instead of them being defensive, they're opening up to you and saying to you, well, and then realizing all the pain points and all the issues. So they're coming towards you, aren't they, and telling you, and then they're actually, the penny's dropping. So, no, I mean, I think it's really important because we focus on marketing, leads, all that sort of stuff. But if you can't talk to people on the phone and you can't close, that's where that's where the money is, isn't it? You've got to be able to close people. It doesn't matter how many leads you've got, how much marketing you put out. And I don't think that's taught enough. And I really noticed that 4-day challenge that I did with you, Nate, that you've really rounded that well. So, I mean, I think you can sell ice to the Eskimos the way that you handled some of those calls. So I think I think it's something people need to re-engage in is a little bit of sales. And sales isn't the old stuff that, like you said, when you first started. It's a new art form. So it's something that has to be relearned, and
100%.
So, yeah, and you've had a couple of other challenges there. That's what I mean. You're constantly putting out content, and like you said, you do a podcast, you do challenges, so you're using that, chopping that up, and using it for your social media as well, and in your Facebook groups and that. So that's another thing you're really good at is marketing and branding. You've got a really good brand out there. Was that another thing that you had to learn along the way?
100%. Had to learn it all the way. Didn't know anything about marketing and branding. I didn't even think I'm that good, to be real. I just record what I do and chop it up and put some graphics on it and put it out everywhere. I mean, if it looks good at my VAs, it's all my VAs. They're doing a great job.
Yeah. Oh, well, you've got good VAs. That might be another challenge. How to hire good VAs. I think that could be your next one, mate. But so what would your advice be to people, new investors? Because new investors get caught up a lot in the leads and the lists and all that. There's a bit of branding involved in there. You've got to get a little bit of, and same with talking to sellers. You've got to get a bit of experience talking to sellers because there's no point, like I said, getting on the phone and all of a sudden freezing like, a deer in the headlights. Pardon the pun, mate.
That's right.
Yeah. So what would your advice be when someone starts? I mean, obviously people want to just jump into it and they want to be, doing it. Do you reckon that you got to make like a bit of a broader plan? Like if you had your time again, would you start and slow down and just do a bit of a broader plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's exactly, I've been trying to rack my brain for the last couple of months, years, for what's the best way to help someone brand new, right? And I'm calling it the painless wholesaling method or painless wholesaling strategy, because that's what I'm currently doing in my own business. It's just another way. I'm just branding it. It's reverse wholesaling. Okay. And the traditional way of wholesaling is to just start making calls to sellers, not really know what you're talking about, just try to get a low offer, get it under contract, and then find someone to sell it to. So you're kind of going, if you're new, you're kind of going in it blind. You're like, well, I don't really know what a deal is, but I'm going to go and try and find something. And I don't recommend you do that if you're new. What I recommend with the painless wholesaling strategy is you go find buyers first. You go find cash buyers that are buying right now in the market shift, that are actually, closing on properties, and you ask them what they want. Okay. And you make a good connection to them. You make a good relationship, and you say, for example, hey, John, I'm new to wholesaling. I'm new to real estate investing, but I heard you're a big player in the market. What can I find for you that you would buy? What are you looking for? And I'll go find it. John's like, hey, if you can find me a 3-2 in Salt Lake City, Utah, that that's below, that's not older than 1950. Now, you have an idea now of what you need to go get. So then you can go market that, you can go knock doors, you can do all that stuff. And so once you find out what they want, if you find a seller who meets that criteria, you can call that buyer that you're cool with now and say, I think I found someone. What would you pay for this house? I'll send you the information. Here's some pictures. So instead of guessing, you have an idea. You have someone that you can piggyback off of. That's what I'm doing in my business. Is I get really tight with 10 to 12 cash buyers, and I go find them what they want, and then I bring it, and then I make 10K a pop, and it takes me a couple hours a week.
Yeah, so you got the reverse strategy going, and early days that was sort of a no-brainer. I know a couple of years ago, but then because the market got so hot, people were just saying, just go out and get a deal, just go out and get a deal. So it's sort of a lot of people sort of dropped that off, didn't they? And said, oh, well, I'm going to have a buyer anyway. But now things have tightened up again. You've really got to go back to that
you got to
traditional
go
way
back
and
to that.
build a buyers list.
Exactly. Because the thing is, like, if you don't have that relationship right now, the buyers, they don't know you. They probably don't even want to look at your stuff. Like, if you send out an email blast to 10,000 people, they don't know who you are. Maybe they don't trust you. They're looking for great deals. It's relationships is winning right now.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like anything in this business. You've got to just keep hacking away, don't you? You're going to, you might ring someone once and they'll say, look, no, you got to keep ringing them, don't you? And then, especially with savvy investors, they'll look at that as, I'll work with that person because they've got persistence. They're not going to just flake, they're not going to flake on me. They've got drive. So all that stuff becomes part of your real estate muscles, doesn't it? Building up like your door knocking, that's just talking to people, getting rejected, probably been chased by a few dogs. It makes you thick skinned.
We got bit by a little dog. It kind of, it hurt, we getting bit.
Yeah. Well, that's why I asked you that question, because I know you're just always trying to innovate. And like I said, with your trainings, so I can almost hear your brain ticking over. How can I make this more simpler? How do I get wholesalers just to not drop out? How do I? And that's why I asked. And so you would say that almost like the old draw the squares on a piece of paper and link them together. And you need to have a couple of fires burning on each front, don't you? You've got to have a bit of a social media presence. You've got to have you've got to have good marketing. You've got to have a bit of branding. You've got to have all that sort of stuff across the board. So that's where people are probably going to have to put a little bit more effort in now, isn't it? Because the market's shifting a little bit, so it's not going to be as easy.
Right.
So are you working on that at the moment? Are you working on your next sort of trainings and how to get people probably from ground zero?
Yeah, I actually am. I don't know if you've seen it in my group, but I created this outline. It's called the Painless Wholesaling Strategy Outline. It just lays out the exact steps and 10 steps to go from having $0 in your bank account to getting a deal within 30 days or less than 30 days. I have it all written out with videos, everything, contracts, scripts, everything's. I'm giving it out for free right now, just because I want people. There's just too many people that don't take action, right? So I'm like, hey, let me make this so simple. Anyone can do it. Okay. All the steps are there.
Yeah. So that's in, your Facebook group. What's the name of your Facebook group? It's give her a
So
plug.
yeah, so I'm actually going to change the name because it's really long. It's not a good name. I got to change it. It's the Wholesaling Acquisitions Manager Mastery. It's too long, so I'm probably going
Yeah.
to just change it to the Painless Wholesaling Community or something
Yep.
like that. Just make it super easy. But also, if you want to get that outline, if you want it, it's all you got to do is go to investorthrive.com. My
Investor
company is
Thrive.
called investorthrive.com, and then you
Investor.
click it, and then there's going to be a
Yep.
link. You can get it for free. There's free courses. So, but the Facebook group's great because, I go live and most of the time everything's in there. I do StreamYard just like we're doing this. So it blasts the different platforms, but the Facebook community is like what, we're trying to grow, help people out, stuff like that.
Yeah, I would advise anyone that watches this is watching live now or watches the replay. You got to go because I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, Nathan, I've never seen someone give out so much free stuff. I mean, it's amazing. Like that 4-day challenge I did, you gave everyone everything attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
In your group, you've given away hedge fund lists, just ridiculous stuff that people. So it's just amazing, and like I said, you're putting out a lot of content as well. So you're giving out a lot of free stuff. So for someone that's starting off, rather than go and pay for a course straight away,
Right.
it'd be better to come to you, see if it's what they want to do, get involved, learn a little bit because you've got a few pennies they've got to drop, and then I mean you do paid coaching and all the rest of it. So once someone works it out, and you've the old reciprocity, you've given them probably about 10 grand's worth of stuff,
Right.
then they can move along and continue with that as well. So
Yeah.
you're one of them people out there that are giving value and are giving stuff out. So I always advise people to go to people like that because I know how much effort you have to put in to get all that stuff up and running. You got VAs working for you, got all the rest of it. So yeah, just a shout out to you for that, mate, because you
Thank you.
do a great job. You do a great job, and like I said, what caught my eye with you was your branding. Your branding is really good, and you're always up and about. You're a younger guy, so you probably got a bit more energy than us older guys. But you're up and about, and you're always doing something. Like you're down. Tell us where you are now, because
Yes.
you're from
Yes.
Utah.
Yeah, so I love networking. Networking is the key for people that you guys are new. Don't be afraid just because you're new to network with bigger people, right? Like or anyone you want. So I'm in Utah. I'm from Utah, but I'm driving down to Arizona just to bring my aunt's car, my family member's car to Arizona. She lives in Utah. She bought a house in Arizona, had a Corvette, and she's like, "Hey, could you help me out?" And I just was like, "Yeah, I can help you out." And it was just a trip I was going to make anyway. So I was like, hey, who can I talk to while I'm there? And I know there's a lot of wholesalers in that area. So I just started making calls, texting people, trying to get a hold. And I'm still doing it right now. I'm like, hey, I'm here. My day today and tomorrow, like it's not fully booked, but I'm trying to get stuff going. So that's kind of like I see the power of networking with others is, just go for it. Right. Like, we're talking like how would we have talked unless we went for it and, chatted with each other and connected. So that's all I did is I said, hey, I'm going to do a trip. Let's see who I can talk to while I'm there.
So you've done one podcast so far. Have you got any more booked in? Did you manage to get any more?
Yeah. So I got one later today with Philip. His name is Philip the Flipper or Philip Philip.
Yep.
And I got that one. And then I'm going to Brent Daniels' office tomorrow at 10. I shot some stuff earlier for Batch Leads. I went live with them yesterday. And tomorrow I'm going to stop by Steve Trang's office too, real estate instructors. So yeah, I'm just anything I can just to get my name out there, provide value, help out. And it was pretty cool because I was talking to Brent yesterday on the podcast. And, what I say is, hey, man, how can I provide value to you? Obviously, I want to be helpful any way I can. He's like, hey, you might be able to help me out, help me teach some classes. So he hits me up this morning. I met Brent pretty much for the first time yesterday. Right.
Yeah.
So he says, hey, Nate, one of my guys that does the calls, he can't make it today. Can you do it? So just within one day of meeting Brent and, trying to provide value, we're already kind of collaborating, and I'm going to probably help him on a coaching call today. So, if everything works out, I got to schedule switch some stuff around. But all I'm trying to say is, when you do something, put yourself out there in the universe, people want to help you succeed. So don't feel like you're not big enough to, do it.
Yeah, that's a gold nugget that is, because it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you're brand new, network with people, and then someone, like you said, make those phone calls to people that and maybe on another level, and just keep talking and just persistence, and then add value, because that's one thing that I was saying that you did. Like, it's almost like you got to put yourself up at that level and play at that level, don't you? Like a high level sports person, even for no results, even for no money, no results. And
Exactly.
once you get there and you run at that level, like you said, it's a universal law that what you give out will come back. So it's almost not about the outcome; it's about putting yourself in that place and opportunities coming from there. And pardon me, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you've learnt pretty early, and networking is a great way to do that. So that's great advice to people out there, and you can do it from ground level, can't you? Like, if someone comes into your Facebook group, they can start networking for free within your Facebook group.
100%. I want people doing that. I want the Facebook group to be a community where people are asking questions, not only to me, but each other, to you. I mean, that's how people grow, right? Is by asking questions. And, I learned a lot from my brother-in-law. Like, when I was younger, he's about 10 years older than me, but whenever he meets someone, he always asks them questions about their life, like what they do. He just met somebody, be like, yeah, tell me where you're from, tell me what you do. And growing up, I was, younger, I was like, why is he always asking people all these questions? That's probably annoying. But people like to talk about themselves. People want you to be interested in them. So I've learned from him that, like, that's you want people to be invested in you. You got to be invested in them.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And I think a lot of people gloss over it. They don't realize how important networking is, and getting into different groups. And you're probably the same as me, Nate. When you get into a group, you don't just get in there to learn what you're learning. If it's a coaching course, or you're getting mentored or something, you actually team up with the people that are learning as well, and you make connections, because it's amazing how small industries are. And then all of a sudden you see that person somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you form a connection, and you can help each other. And that's what it's all about, because sometimes you try and do everything yourself and you get nowhere. It's like team sport. You've got to all play a role, and you've got different strengths. So yeah, that's definitely what it's all about. And I like that story that you've gone down there basically to drop a car off, and you've made the most of an opportunity.
That's
and
right.
You've ended up on a couple of really big podcasts, which is not only good for your brand, but like you said, you're adding value.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you that, I mean, how many rejections did you get? Did you get a few of them saying, Nathan, who are you?
I got a ton of rejection, and also a lot of people just didn't even respond. But I have zero hard feelings toward those people. I get it. They're busy, or if they don't know me or don't like me, that's okay. It's just life.
Well, I shot your message too, because I've been leaving voice messages for Brent Daniels, and I think he's thinking, I'm going to get a restraining order. Who is this guy that just keeps, like, is he even in our country? Like, who is, what's this guy doing? I've got a stalker from another country. That's pretty impressive. But I believe the same. You just got to, until they put a restraining order, you keep going until they say, look, enough's enough, and I'll see you in court. But only joking. But yeah, that's the thing. But, and just tell us quickly your story about, you did a Facebook story. Basically, you're driving down to get this car down there, and what happened to you?
Oh yeah, so I was driving down to Arizona, and I thought Arizona was all going to be just like desert, right? Because I've never been in the northern part, but I went through Flagstaff, which is like tons of like woods and forests. So I'm driving there, pitch black, and in the Corvette, right? And all of a sudden, like, I'm driving, and a deer just jumps onto the road, like, super close to me, and I'm like, man, I'm about to hit this deer, and this car that I was delivering is about to get wrecked. But, luckily I was able to slow down. The brakes were really good in that car. I didn't skirt or anything. I slowed down, turned a little bit to like kind of avoid it, and I clipped the legs instead of, blasting it full on, and it didn't really do any damage to the car. So luckily I avoided that by paying attention.
What was your heart rate? What was your heart rate for the next 5 minutes?
Ooh, it was pretty dang high. It was really interesting, because after it happened, I was like, I was more worried about the car, But
well, that's right, because that was a mission, wasn't it? That was a mission to get the car down there in one piece.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I know you're busy. You've got plenty of stuff you're doing on the run, so I'll let you go. I just want one last question for you is, we've talked about sales, the importance of being able to talk to people. We talked about branding. We talked about networking. Give us your last, give all the viewers a tip to go away with, something that you think is really important and that stuck with you through, that you've learned through your whole investing career, like something that you really think is important for people to know.
Yeah. So let's just talk about sales on this one. So a lot of people might look at me or you or people that they feel like, oh man, that guy can talk. Like he's just born to talk. Like sales is not something that you're born. Yes, mate, you might have like a little bit of a knack or be like a little bit better at communicating, but sales is something you master through daily incremental practice. It's not something that you're born with. It's not like someone's just better than me because they were born better. I'm getting better because I practice every day. I role play, I read sales books. That if you guys want to master sales or communication, it's this exact same thing. You practice that daily. You want to master shooting a basketball, you practice it. Sales is something you can master through practice. So don't think, oh, that guy's just born with it or built to do that. That's not true. Anyone can master sales through practice.
Yeah, great tip. And another thing, talking about the new way of sales, there's a lot of shutting up and listening and that now in there. So you don't have to be a great talker. You just have to ask the right questions, sit back, write notes, and
that's right.
It's a new art form now. So maybe talking too much isn't a great thing anymore. You've got to just
got to be great.
Yeah. Listener. So there's something for the introverts. You may be better at it than you think if you just practice your script and get it down pat and just listen. Away you go.
That's right.
All right, Nate, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate you jumping on, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you and just keep adding that value out there because,
of course,
yeah, like I said, all the stuff is just brilliant, and I encourage people to go and check out. Well, the website's probably the best one to go, isn't it?
Yeah, so, Invest to Thrive would be the best
because it's Thrive
everything.
.com.
Yeah,
go and check that out if you want to check out a lot of Nathan's stuff, and
appreciate it.
You're out there making it happen, and that's the sort of people we like to get on this podcast because it's all about, like you said, just doing the hard work and practice. So thanks, mate, for coming on. Hopefully, how are you getting home? Are you catching a train or you?
I'm flying back. Yeah. My dad works for Delta, so luckily I can fly for really cheap. But hey, send me the link to this podcast, and I'll put it on my website and the other one because I want to start putting stuff that I've been on like my page. People can see.
This is going straight to YouTube, so I'll send it through. We'll get you a copy, and have a safe flight back. Get back to Utah and turn up the heat, mate.
You got it. We'll keep in touch. We will.
Yep. All right. Good on you, Nathan. Thanks for coming in, mate. Appreciate it. See you, buddy.
Yep.
Bye.